Te arawa waka, kumea mai te tākere nui o māhuhu ki te rangi te tau nei. Kei ngā whare o Ngāti Whakauwe, tūtaki mai ki te koruru o tumutumu whenua te pūkana atu nei. Kei ngā uri o Kahumata Mamoi, mihi mai ki tēnei uri o Kahumata Mamoi ki Tāmaki. Nō reira tēnā koutou. Kei ngā taumata tiki tike o ngā maunga whakahi o te motu, nei a maunga ki te tū atu nei, te mihi atu nei, nō reira tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Thank you, Mikey, I think, for that introduction. And it's an honour and a pleasure to represent my people here in this amazing hui nui for this kaupapa that we all is dear to us. And firstly, I just want to commend everybody, no matter whether it's a marae reservation with a few kaumātua flats or a Māori incorporation trying to work out how to get 75% of shareholders to agree to something, whether you're a PSGE who got back 2 cents in the dollar and had to buy your whenua back and trying to work out housing for your people. Ka nui te mihi, ka nui te aroha, hoki. I know how hard it is, and I just want to acknowledge everybody. I tell our flash Pākehā directors who join our commercial arm, our property arm, that all the stuff they do is subdivisions on open market. Oh, māma noiho, that's easy. Try Māori housing, it's the hardest thing you'll ever do, and all of them totally agree with that. So, ka nui te mihi kia tātou I tēnei whare, tēnei rā. Today I'll be running through quite a number of slides. Hopefully this thing works firstly, and then we will, there's lots of pictures to hopefully keep the post-lunch crowd awake. And they've just messaged me, sorry, I don't have any slides for you. Okay. Now I'll have to use the art of our tupuna, but here we go, maybe. Anyway, tuatahi rā, our people, Ngāori o Tupiriri, our tupuna, who established ourselves on the Auckland Isthmus in central Auckland from the 1740s, and from his pā, called Hikurangi Pā, near the summit of Maunga Kie, One Tree Hill, and with his wives Kuraroa and Hine Te Wairoa. They established our mana across the central Auckland Isthmus and the upper Waitemata through a network of kāinga who were captained and managed by their 4 sons and their wives who were from the Waiōhua people, the Ngāiwi and Ngāoho people, who many of you are from as well. So we have those ancient bloodlines flowing through us. Those kāinga were right across the Auckland Central Isthmus, from Kohimaramara, Mission Bay to Kāretu, just south of where the Auckland Warriors play, over to Te Whau, Blockhouse Bay, across to Rangi Matariki in Avondale Peninsula, up to Pitoitoi Riverhead, and back down to the Harbour Bridge where it lands on the North Shore side, Te Onewa, and then back to Kohimaramara, and that's what we call Te Kahu Tōpuni or Tupiriri, our Ukaipō, that's where we die in the ditch. We have wider relationships across the isthmus, to the east, Ngāti Pāwa, to the south, Te Waiōhua, me o rātou tini karangaranga, and then also our whanaunga Kawarau in west of Auckland. So that's sort of our landscape, our cultural landscape that we have there in Tāmaki. And if I had my picture of Maunga Kie, I heard discussion today about our wanga with multiple level living, but when you look at Maunga Kie from afar, you will see, it's nearly 190 metres above sea level, and our tupuna sculpting themselves into the terraces there. And to me, we've already been living multi-level across our pā sites with our terracing and our escarpments, and also using the land as efficiently as possible, bringing all the whānau together, one for whanaungatanga, but also just efficiency, using the land as efficiently as we can. And I see medium density and high density no different to what our tupuna have already been doing. So we're Ngāti Whātua ki Tāmaki, Ngāti Whātua Orākei. We have a housing vision, as all of you do, and we do te tiro whakamuri ki ngā pūrākau o ngā tūpuna. We look back to them to help and inspire us. We believe we are totally responsible for the housing of our people. No good being a chief. We have just done a take raupatu and then thank everyone and say, oh, well, see you later. Next job is to figure out where to house everybody. And we certainly at our Trust Board see that as a key responsibility of ours. Now, like all of you, there was a time before our Pākehā brothers and sisters arrived here where our people had pretty much worked out how to live with our rohe, with papatuanuku, with our repo, with our lakes, with our ngahere, all of that. And we were living pretty sustainably, and there was no homelessness unless there was someone really koretake in the tribe. They got kicked out, but otherwise we were living harmoniously with our environment and most of the time with our neighbours as well. So as we all know, that picture changed with the advent of, I guess, the colonialism and the empire spreading out from Europe, and we were all obviously had our worlds turned upside down. For us at Ngāti Whātua ki Tāmaki, we invited Pākehā settlement post musket wars. We wanted the trade. We wanted to engage with this new world. So we offered significant tracts of land in central Auckland to enable that. 3,000 acres of central Auckland land, he tuku whenua. Given under our tikanga to Governor Hobson, from the summit of Maunga Whau, the highest point on the isthmus, out to the east at Taurarua, which the Crown for some reason are offering to Marutuahu, and then around the coast to Opoutu Keka, or Opoutu Tika, also another name there at Cox's Bay, 3,000 acres to enable Pākehā settlement, to lease the land off us as we thought. Hoi not, cut a long story short, within the close of the 1850s, less than 20 years after the signing of the treaty and that tuku whenua from our chief Te Kawau, we had lost everything except for the Orākei block, the last 700 acres. So that last 700 acres was put under a trust with the 13 trustees, deemed trustees, who were going to look after it for the uri of Tupiriri, mā moake tonu atu. However, even in time, the government deemed those 13 trustees as individual owners and then split all of their interests and shares up amongst the multitude of their uri. And then one by one, they were all picked off and the land all went totally. So from owning all of central Auckland up away to Mata, the Orākei block, by 1952, all we had left was a quarter-acre cemetery at Ōkahu Bay. So that cemetery even, the Auckland Council resolved to take that off us as well. They also resolved in council to move us to Browns Island, Motukorea, which is Ngaitai's Island, just off the mouth of the Tāmaki River, and also to Wairarapa was another one of their crazy proposals. So in 1952, we had nothing left. So that's just a picture of the papakainga at Ōkahu Matamomoi, Ōkahu Bay in Auckland. Right in the middle there is our whare, if you can just see it right in the centre of the picture, next to the sewer pipe that took all the sewage from the city. Out in front of our kāinga, Te Purua Tāmaki is our whare tūpuna. To get your bearings, some of you may have watched the Matatini Pōhiri. That's about where the Aotea was, where that whare tūpuna is standing in that photo. 1952, the last 13 acres taken under the Public Works Act and the remaining houses burnt to the ground. And we have been fighting our way back ever since. So for 40 odd years, it wasn't until 1991 we didn't have a marae, a whare tūpuna, to welcome the multitude who were coming to our city post World War II. And In the 70s, a number of our whānau said no more, and I'm sure some of you joined in to help us with this campaign to have some of our land returned to us. So literally coming out of the ashes of 1952 and the Bastion Point campaign, and then our Waitangi Tribunal report, 1987, and then a offer in 1991. And this was in the days when Officer Treaty Settlement says, we're really sorry, here's 100 of those 700 acres, but 90% of it you have to keep open for Pākehā who want to walk their fluffy dogs. And here's $3 million, and we're really sorry, and that's it, take it or leave it. There was no negotiation. So that's what we started with in 1991 to try to make a comeback. Economically, our leadership of the time, this is a quote from Sir Hugh Kāwharu, who said, we didn't have 40 cents, let alone 40 million, which was what our uncles and aunties pulled together in the mid-90s to buy back 20 hectares of downtown Auckland land, which was former Te Toangaroa, our former seabed, rather than wait for the Seabed Foreshore Act, which would potentially give us our seabed back. We said, no, that won't happen, let's just buy it. And he mata kite, ne? So we just bought that back in 1996, and that's been the nest egg that has enabled us to do a few other things. So since that time, 96, we've been on a campaign to buy back as much of our former estate as possible. And many of you will know who are in treaty negotiations. All we did was negotiate the right to buy our land back. So we bought back $120 million worth of land, and we funded that ourselves with the BNZ Bank, and we still have that debt today. So we funded our own treaty settlement, tātou mā. And we've been very focused on building homes as part of our rebirth. And this whakatauki comes from Taurangi, one of the Three Kings in Three Kings area. And this is actually a te aroa from the time of Ngāti Whātua and one of the te aroa tūpuna who lived there at that time. Ka tū pari toka toka, ka horo pari one one. So build your home out of, with a solid base, and it will stand strong, is essentially what it is. So whoever's in your treaty negotiation teams, don't take these and come back with a treaty claim at some future point, please. And in terms of our housing, our whāinga matua, all the same as your fellas as well. But probably on this photo it'd be good to mention around intergenerational living. This is 3 generations right here. Our former chair, my second cousin, Philip Piripi Davis, and his whānau in one of the new houses in the 2015 development that we did. So we went through lots of hui like you all do, and a lot of our old people, and not so old people, talking about how we all used to live together, the overcrowded situations, but everybody was happy. So when they moan about 3-level walk-ups, I just remind them about their kōrero, about living together and walking in and out of each other's homes and so on. So sometimes our people just need to be reminded of the kōrero that they've actually put down already. So since 1978, post the Bastion Point occupation and negotiation, we've been very fortunate to be able to build around 250 homes, and they vary from 1950s old Housing New Zealand stock, like this stuff here, built by Fletchers. They did pretty well out of us. This was one of their first developments in Orākei, those duplex buildings. And we have an old agreement, historic agreement, to purchase back former Kāinga Ora, formerly Housing New Zealand land, which we negotiate at market rates. Our most recent development is Kāinga Tuatahi, and we're pretty proud of that one. It was our first go at medium density. To me, it's still pretty low density, but it is medium density. There's shared communal spaces. We were just joking with some of the cousins before. On one side of the street, we gave them $30,000 to design and build their own communal space. And 10 years later now, it's still just a patch of grass with a $500 trampoline on it. So they haven't worked out quite yet how to engage with each other in the papakainga yet to come up with a solution, and it takes time. It takes time. Living in a papakainga, has been said, is intense at times, but it comes with a lot of wonderful benefits as well. Another point about this development, we had to fund it ourselves. We had to, and it's home ownership, we loan the money directly to our whānau, and we're in a fortunate position to be able to do that. I understand that. Now that's a $20 million drag on our balance sheet. That $20 million could be out there earning 10 to 15% for us, but we're investing it in our people. Our kaumātua units, we actually have a total of 18, but this is the newest one, and next to the marae, and they're having a wonderful time there, our kaumātua and kuia. I had lunch with a couple of them last week and asked about the solar panels and what their power bills are like, and one of the aunties said, used to be $200, now it's between $30 and $50, so that makes a big difference in their lives. So we partnered there with Vector and Tesla batteries as well. Our newest development we've announced, and we're working with whānau right now, which we're excited about, is 24 units here. Some of them will be 3-level walk-ups as well. And we're excited to bring on board 2 banks, BNZ and Westpac, so Kanuitamihi Kia Rawa, who will be providing finance direct to our whānau. So that's a big help for the iwi balance sheet, that we don't have to, we can use that money that we otherwise would have loaned to whānau to do te whakawhanake te pūtea. We all know the cost of construction is insane right now, and no one really seems to have the answer. And so to help those whānau who aren't high income, we have got a 25% shared equity scheme that we're really proud to announce, and we've introduced that. So we're working through that. And hopefully we can confirm in coming months that we'll also have, as part of this development, a dozen or so whānau which we'll fund and JV with the government over, there'll be IRRS whānau who qualify for that, so that we don't just have, I guess, silos on our papakainga, you know, the rich cousins over there, and, you know, the ones who want to get there one day. We're going to have them all living together, because we've seen that everyone can be, and everyone living together can inspire each other, no matter the background. And just a bit of context, so in terms of, you know, sometimes this is really hard to stomach, you know, like we settled for $18 million cash quantum for the loss of Central Auckland and the Upper Waitemata, and we took $18 million cash, and not many years after that, when we're trying to build housing, we need land to do that, we're having to pay another part of the Crown $16.5 million, you know, for 1.65 acres of land that we've already proven was unjustly taken in previous generations. So, despite that, you know, we carry on. That's locked up. So, the next slides really, we're just talking about, ngā huanui o te noho papakainga. I'll fly through these, but it's pretty obvious. When you have 250 houses and then lots of other whānau trying to rent in East Auckland and be near the marae, you can start doing some pretty magical things. So you get people coming to the marae, usually through guilt tripping find is the best way, but also putting on cool programs that they can get involved in. Our kaikaranga get together, do their thing, our pai as well, they have their classes. We also have te reo classes weekly now, a couple of hundred people come to those, and it's just exploding. We do the other things around supporting as much as we can around health, just trying to reduce the costs of living. So toi ora, so health costs, we have a group health scheme that we partnered with NIB on, just to lighten the, not lighten the wallet, keep your wallet heavy, that we can help whānau with that. And I think our oldies rugby league team will be back together again soon, because our knees are getting fixed, our shoulders are being done, because we're straight to the front of the queue for all of the operations. And this is one of the best things on the papakai, I think, right now, takatū. So we have weekly fitness classes, what do they call it, FIT, or HIT classes, and our kaumātua have their own special class as well. Kapahaka, and we've heard a lot in this about reconnecting with Papa Tuanuku, and it's a real big part of what we need to do is reconnecting back to our culture and identity is how did we used to grow kai. Our grandparents all talk about their amazing gardens that they had. Our generation had lost it, and so now we're trying to bring that back, and we have lots of young fellas like Te Hiriwa who are there every day in the gardens, bringing our kai back and planting our ngahere back, so we have our resources for our mahi toi. So in summary, there are ongoing challenges. As I say, the finance, you all know, is a big issue. But yeah, hit up BNZ and Westpac and see what they could do for you. The Reserve Bank as well is a bit of a hoha, because some of the banks say, oh, we can't, it's too risky loaning on multiply owned Māori land, and the Reserve Bank sets these formulas. So hit up Adrian Orr as well, our whanaunga from Mangaia. And as we know, the cost of construction is, as I said before, insane. It's even sparked conversations with us, or do we go back to one level, single level dwelling with which uses more land but it's cheaper. But those are the conversations that it's sparking. The ever revolving Crown funding policies that seem to change, every election cycle. And our focus has been on home ownership. We find people pay their mortgages much more quickly than their rent. So it's hard being a tenant, a landlord to whānau. That's just how it is. So we do have a focus on home ownership, and we're trying to figure out still how to house those whānau who don't earn quite enough to be able to get that mortgage, or they earn too much that they can't go into a public house. And the equity share scheme is one of our first goes at that. But there's a lot more to do, as we all know, tātou mā. And so kia kaha kia tātou katoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.